Nehemiah chapter 11, all of chapter 11 to chapter 12, 1 to 26. The repeopling of Jerusalem. So now that the temple is ready, the city walls are ready. So you need people to live in Jerusalem. We don't appreciate the hardship in the sense that this is an agrarian society. There's no land in Jerusalem. It would be a hardship to move into Jerusalem. But you need people to live in Jerusalem, not just for security, but to serve the temple. Now the temple is functioning, and then many jobs in the temple that needs filling, because you have the priest who takes care of the services, you have the Levites who teach the people and organize the sacrificial animals and things like that, and the people. And you need singers, porters for worship. And these people needs to be supported. So here, Nehemiah, again, we see his practical side comes through. So he says, well, that there's no doubt that eventually he would finish the wall, and he would people the city of Jerusalem with people. How does he do that? How does he? In Ezra, we know the first part of Ezra is archival material. Ezra did not write it. It was already written, so he would take that part. But Nehemiah also uses archival material, albeit throughout his book. So how would he know who are the people who has come back to Jerusalem, so to Judah? He would use the same list as in the first part of Ezra, the 50,000 who came back, the first group that came back with Zerubbabel and Joshua. So those records are kept, and he would look through them, because here these are people, very few of them would have lived in Jerusalem before the exile, but the majority of them would be born and raised in Babylon. Make no mistake, or even in Persia. So they would have only heard of stories from their fathers and their grandfathers of the old country, which they are now gone back to live. So that in itself was a huge sacrifice for them, the first group, or any other groups that volunteered to go back to Jerusalem. The first group was 50,000, not a huge lot of people. Like I said, it'd be a huge sacrifice in the sense that they have carved out for themselves a good life in Babylon, albeit it's not their home country, but still, Jeremiah said it's going to be a long exile, so get ready, have children, marry, bury, have children, buy houses, buy vineyards and farms, and live it out, those 70 years. So here they come back from supposedly plenty to Jerusalem, which was like decimated. There's nothing there, period, end of story. Again, I go to church, and I have lots of church friends who, we read the Bible through our modern lenses. Why can't they do this? Why can't they do that? Why? It's like, you're reading the Bible from your lenses, from so many filters, from modern lenses. But we have to strip that down bare and go down to that level. There was nothing in Jerusalem. Everything was a huge sacrifice. And not just that, from the nothing, they had to rebuild the temple, albeit it was just a shadow of the first temple that Solomon built. And then they have to slowly build up the walls. It's like, what else do you want us to do? So now, Jeremiah said, I need people to live in the city, in Jerusalem. So agrarian, there's no land there. It's only outside the city in Judah, the rest of Judah, that there is land that they could eke out some sort of living. It's not a prosperous town, never was. So even if you have land, it's barely enough to support you and your family. So here, it mentions how is Nehemiah going to make some people volunteer to live in Jerusalem. So he knew who is there, rulers of the people who dwelt in Jerusalem, the rest of the people. So everybody here from rulers of the provinces, it says here also, the chief, verse 3 says, these are the chief of the provinces. So they're provincial rulers, they're rulers in this Jerusalem, they're ordinary people. So he has a list, like the original list of 50,000 people that came back, that could trace their genealogy, that could trace where they came from in Judah before their ancestors, before they went into exile. So how does he do it? Verse 11, chapter 11, verse 1. So among all these people, so he is there to cast lots, 1 out of 10, to dwell in Jerusalem. So this is the tithe. 1/10 of these 50,000 will have to go in and live in Jerusalem. So they would cast lots. This is how it was done. And we read of casting lots in Acts when they had to replace Judas. And we think, oh my goodness, how can you cast lots? So it's customary in the sense that, well, the pool is already narrowed down. Here, the pool is narrowed down to 50,000. So you cast lots. 5,000 whose lots it is will move to Jerusalem and live in the city. Well, it's the same in Acts when you have 2 candidates. So you cast lot from one of them. The candidates were already vetted, so it would not be like a bad thing. It's not like you get a group of riffraffs and all good and bad and cast lots from them and hope that the Holy Spirit will make the lot fall on the right person. It's not like that. We have to, again, I guess, unless we have teachers, unless we have really pastors who really care and concerned about the right information being disseminated, we will never know. To live in where? Jerusalem. Verse 1 says, the holy city. So all the activities here in the city has to do with worship in the temple. So it's become a holy city, and 9 parts of them to dwell in other cities. So here, that was how Nehemiah organized them. And also, it does say here, verse 2, and the people blessed all the men whose lot it was to go into live in Jerusalem, and also those who willingly offered themselves to dwell in Jerusalem, volunteers. Never have they excluded volunteers. Let's put it this way. Even when the 50,000 who came back the first, they were volunteers. And then Ezra brought the second group and found no Levites among them, and they had to have Levites volunteer to come to return. Why? Because worship, the Levites, the priests and Levites and the porters, the singers, and everybody is for the worship of God in the temple. So that's very important. Verse 3 will give us the list of people that whose lot it was to go to live in Jerusalem. The priests, the Levites, the Nethinims, the children of Solomon's servants. So mostly. And also verse 6 says, the sons of Perez. Sons of Perez would be David's line, Judah. And also sons of Benjamin, the Benjamin. So this is really the southern kingdom, the kingdom of Judah, which is mainly from the tribe of Judah and Benjamin. And also verse 10, we definitely see priests that comes back. And what is their work? Verse 17, principle to begin the thanksgiving in prayer. So for worship of God, to praise in prayer, to thank God. So again, what was the intention of the temple before it was destroyed? Burnt offerings. That was made part of it. And here it restarts. So you need people, a whole staff to organize burnt offerings and things like that. So it's a massive task. And chapter 12 also is the list of Levites. Again, Levites are very important. The priests, you don't need many priests. Priests are a special class, the Zadokites, the descendants of Aaron. They minister to the Lord, to God in more spiritual matters, whereas the Levites minister to the people. They are the ones who handle the burnt offerings. They are the ones who teach. So you need more Levites than any other group of people. And it's wonderful to see the vast variety of people that are being sent to staff Jerusalem. So Jerusalem, the holy city, once again returns to its place of honor. And this is almost the end of Nehemiah, and that was his whole mission in life. So going forward, we hear of Zechariah. Zechariah's mission is very different, even though he was a colleague of Haggai. Haggai in 2 chapters said, hey guys, get off your go up the mountain to bring the timber down, finish building the house of God. That was Haggai's ministry. But Zechariah, even though he had the similar ministry to Haggai, his was much different in the sense that, okay, finish. Why? Finish the temple. Finish Jerusalem, because it is, to this group of people, it's like a seed bank. To this group of people, the Messiah will come. That's why it's so important. This is a seminal event. We cannot, it's not like, okay, rebuild the temple, rebuild the city, and that's it, kumbaya. No, because it is to this group and their descendants over the centuries that the Messiah will come. So you need this time till the Messiah comes with the new covenant, where the temple will no longer be needed. But at this moment, you need it going forward. So Zechariah's ministry, again, is very different. It's not just to address the conditions at hand. It's forward-looking, eschatological, to the time the Messiah comes. That's why we see a lot of Zechariah in the New Testament, in Jesus' work, in Revelation, which we can understand why. We know, it came from Zechariah. So what? Then we understand, once we go into the books, the various books, and drill down to chapter and verse, then we realize that everything is a puzzle piece in this whole jigsaw puzzle. Even you, even me, we are raised for a time like this, how it be. We're a tiny speck in the whole scheme of things, but still, whatever we do has long-lasting effect. And we shall see in Zechariah that fact. And then doing that, we can now appreciate the importance of this moment of the rebuilding of the temple and the city of Jerusalem, how it is so important as a evangelical tool going forward, that to this group centuries later, the Messiah will come, and then it will go out into the world. Will Jerusalem have the same standing then? That's another story. Until Christ comes and becomes the temple personified, this current situation must continue, because everything in the future is pivoted on this, is predicated on this moment. So knowing this, it's like, wow, to drill down into chapter and verse and understanding from this perspective really is amazing.